Good day. We'll be talking about fermentation today, and this is the centerpiece of BCH 410. It's very important for you to pay attention to this topic as it helps you to understand the kind of products you purchase in the market, the mechanism of production, and it opens your mind into what you can possibly go into and produce your home product. And this could be a life-saving techniques that it will in the nearest future. So let's go into the course, which is fermentation. I decided to use to come up with these two pictures, which I know you are very much aware of. By the right, you will see a palm wine being served into a beautiful calabash. On the left, you will be able to see a palm wine tapper tapping the palm wine from the palm wine tree. And for record purpose, most of you, or I know that some of you have actually purchased this kind of products before, most especially when you are doing student week or period or having a form of celebration in your community. We have lecturers that take these products. We also have students, people around us, one way or the other, we know purchase these products. Yeah, well, alcohol is a commodity, and it's not only used for consumption purposes. It has also been used for so many things, local treatment of diseases. I know the common Apollo that you use. So many people purchase this type of alcohol to wash their face, and when you buy palm wine to what's it called, to wash your face, it's not the palm wine that is doing the healing, but rather is the what, the fermentation that has already taken place that is doing it. Because during the fermentation of palm wine, which take place for so many days, because so many days uh, on the tree before it's actually being brought down, this has undergo the sugar content of it has undergo fermentation, which has led to production of alcohol. And remember, in your laboratory, when you are sanitizing your environment, you make use of alcohol. So the use of palm wine to wash your face during when you are infected with palm wine, well, when you are affected with Apollo, is as a result of using ethanol to sterilize your face, and by using it to wash your face, you're only reducing the bacterial load in the what's it called, in the palm wine. This is not the function of the local gods, but rather it is a simple basic chemistry. I've also seen people who have sore throat, severe sore throat, and they drink this palm wine and they believe that it is the palm wine. No, it is actually the fermentation that's already taking place in this product that is doing the work. Now let's go into what fermentation is. What is fermentation? Fermentation is the chemical transformation of organic substances into simpler compounds by the action of enzyme. And what is an enzyme? An enzyme is a biological catalyst able to speed up the rate of reaction. So fermentation takes place in the presence of these enzymes. These enzymes are being produced by microorganisms that act on the sugar and reduce the sugar to simpler products that are useful for that are having what's it called, economic value, one, or that are useful industrially, or that can be applied. We also have pharmaceutical products which are also produced by fermentation. The science of fermentation is also referred to as zymology. Zymology. Let's go on. Well, what are the basic principles of fermentation process? The basic principles of fermentation process is not different from uh, telling your friend to eat a balanced diet, or a balanced diet is a diet that comprises all essential nutrients required for the daily activity or required for the daily growth of an individual. The same thing applies to your organism. In fact, if you are able to take care of your organism, you will be able to have a rich product, a product that can make you a millionaire, a billionaire in the nearest future. When you understand the science about this, then you will know the essence of how to feed what's it called, your microorganisms. So giving the microorganism the essential raw materials, the minerals, the vitamins, the required element that it needs in order for it to grow is like you are giving it you are taking care of it, and when you take care of it, the microorganism will be healthy in order to give you your expected product. So that's the basic principles of fermentation process. And when you do this, the organism utilizes all the essential nutrients provided and act on the substrate, which is a precursor to your desired product, and then convert it to the end product. And now, what are common products that are being found? What are common products of fermentation? For industrial chemicals, we have ethanol, we have lactic acid. A common product of lactic acid is of your what's it called? Your yogurt that is being consumed is a lactic acid ferment product. We also have enzymes, we have amylase, protease, lipase. All these enzymes have application in the environment, detergent industry, environmental industry, and many more. So have antibiotics, penicillin, streptomycin, chloramphenicol. These are common antibiotics that we run to for quick remedy in our country. We also have vitamins, riboflavin, vitamin B12. These are products that can be produced through fermentation. Now, there are different types of fermentation. It could be based on product formation or based on respiration. So the first one I would to talk about is types of fermentation based on respiration. We have what we call anaerobic fermentation and anaerobic fermentation. The aerobic fermentation is the fermentation of sugar into the fermentation of sugar in the presence of oxygen, whereby okay, let me add more information. The other information is that this is also applied in wine production, beer production, acetic acid fermentation, and we also I don't know, many of you may know the apple cider vinegar. These are products of anaerobic fermentation, and it could happen in the muscle cell. It could happen in the muscle and in the yeast cytosol. For the yeast cytosol, your glucose, you all know that for glycolysis to take place, your glucose is broken down to pyruvate. Now, in the cytosol of yeast, this pyruvate is further breaking down to acetaldehyde, which is finally broken down to ethanol. That is an example of anaerobic fermentation. We also have that of muscle, in the whereby the pyruvate is broken down to lactic acid through the help of lactic acid dehydrogenase. This is anaerobic fermentation. Remember, aerobic fermentation is in the presence of oxygen, and anaerobic fermentation is in the absence of oxygen. Other information that you need to also keep in mind is that in the act of anaerobic fermentation, these products, in the absence of oxygen, this fermentation, this organism takes their energy from the carbohydrate and utilize it in breaking down the carbohydrate to the desired product. So that is the process of anaerobic fermentation. And oftentimes the product of anaerobic fermentation is to produce adenosine triphosphate, which is popularly called ATP, and the energy currency of the cell. So this is a type of fermentation based on respiration, or type of fermentation based on respiration. We also have, based on product, we have the homo fermentation. We also have heterofermentation. What is heterofermentation? This is a type of homo fermentation is that when a product, one singular product, is being formed in the fermentation process, where by heterofermentation is when more than one product is formed in the fermentation. Now, we also have different type of fermentation. We have the lactic acid fermentation, we have the alcohol fermentation, we have the acetic acid fermentation, and the butyric acid fermentation. These types of fermentation often determine the kind of products that are formed. Most products that are formed passes through either the lactic acid, alcohol, acetic acid, or the other type of fermentation. Now let's look at lactic acid fermentation. Lactic acid fermentation, it's once your glucose is being broken down to pyruvate, then your pyruvate is being converted to lactic acid through the help of lactic acid dehydrogenase. Remember, during the glycolytic cycle, uh, during the glycolytic cycle, 2 NADH, which is during your energetics, you will understand that 2 NADH is equivalent to 5 ATP. That is, 1 NADH is equivalent to 2.5 ATP. And so, for the conversion of 2 pyruvate, 5 ATP in the form of 2 NADH is being used to produce 2 molecules of lactic acid. We also have that of alcohol dehydrogenase. Alcohol dehydrogenase. This alcohol dehydrogenase, it happens that your pyruvate is converted to acetaldehyde, and your acetaldehyde is being converted to ethanol. It also make use of NADH. It also makes use of NADH, and the NAD that is eventually formed is returned back into glycolysis for usage. And the major enzyme for this is pyruvic acid decarboxylase and alcohol dehydrogenase. These are the enzymes that catalyze the formation of alcohol fermentation. So you need to understand the mechanism behind each type of fermentation. We also have acetic acid fermentation. Acetic acid fermentation. Acid fermentation is based on when the acetic acid fermentation is based in the formation of ethyl alcohol. When this ethyl alcohol is formed, the former type of fermentation is alcohol fermentation. With little modification, we have ethyl alcohol. This ethyl alcohol is now then converted to acetic acid using acetobacter bacteria. So then lastly, we also have butyric acid fermentation. This fermentation is used for producing rancid butters, tobacco processing, and tanning for leather purposes. And this is formed from acetyl CoA. Remember, your pyruvate, your glucose is broken down to your glucose is being broken down to pyruvate, and your pyruvate is being broken down to acetyl CoA. Instead of your acetyl CoA to enter into the Krebs cycle, this acetyl CoA is being reduced to butyric acid. So these are types of fermentation. Another key important thing to understand when going through fermentation. Another key important thing is a fermenter. A fermenter is required, most especially in the industrial scale. We also have 1 liter fermenter that is used in the laboratory, but for industrial purposes, for brewery purposes, and companies that fermented produce, they make use of a fermenter. And what is a fermenter? The definition here is a specifically designed vessel in which large quantity fermentation media is added with fermentation organisms that provide best possible environment control and process control for the biosynthesis of fermentation products. Normally, when you get your organism has its own natural habitat. In its natural habitat, the organism is able to produce its essential products in order for it to be able to obtain its good. But in an industrial scale, whereby you are trying to produce a product that you are trying to produce a product in a large scale that needs high level of purity, that needs to be free from contaminant, you need a fermenter. A fermenter is a closed vessel that will provide a similar environment that is essential for proper fermentation to take place. And when you look at this fermenter that is here, you see that there are different sensor components that makes this fermenter. All these components all have essential functions that they carry out for the for proper fermentation to take place, for proper monitoring to take place, and in order for you to get the desirable good. These are the basics. This is a typical design that you can be able to master and know this what a fermenter is. We also have other information on it as provided. I will also send you the notes that you will be able to read and be able to have information. But it's very essential for you to know the function of each component of this fermenter, and it's also very essential for you to understand the process of fermentation. Fermentation does not just does not take place anyhow. It needs planning, it needs executing, and it needs finishing. So there are three stages of fermentation, three stages in the industry before making use, before engaging the fermentation processes. We have the upstream processes, we have the fermentation processes, we have the downstream processes. This upstream process, it talks about the preparation before fermentation, while the fermentation process is when the organism act on the substrate and act on your medium and produce your desired product, while the downstream process is the post fermentation process whereby you need to purify your content and get it ready for the market. Now, what is okay? I've given a brief information about upstream processes, and another thing that you need to understand is that during this process of upstream processes, we have isolation. You isolate the organism from its native environment, you improve it, and you screen it to confirm whether it actually produces the desirable product, and you have to carry out primary screening and secondary screening. Primary screening, secondary screening, uh, primary screening, secondary screening, and many more. So other things that you need to do that you can do is what's it called? Other things you can do is carry out recombination, mutation, cell fusion, gene cloning. And what's gene cloning? When you see a desirable gene in an organism, you take it to a competent organism that can help you to multiply it. Cell fusion is a way of crossing two organisms together in order to produce a desirable isolate that is capable. Then we also carry out mutation so that we can best ensure the one that will be able to stand the production processes for better yield and high yield and more purified products. And we also have what we call then we also have what we call medium formulation. Medium formulation is almost synonymous to feed formulation or dietary formulation, whereby you are trying to get some diets together in order to give a particular person, in order for you to get an expected result. The same thing applies to uh, fermentation process. If you want to enhance your yield, your production yield, you need to ensure we have what we call optimization, media optimization, in order for the organism to be able to get the required organism that will be able to give the highest form of production. The common raw materials that is being used is corn molasses, cellulose, cheap raw materials that wouldn't cost much in industry, because sometimes when you produce and you discover that what's it called the cost of production is high, then how will you gain it back after after producing after getting your product? When you see that the cost of getting into this business is high and the assurance of you making the money back is slim, then it doesn't worth it going into such production. Then say for every upstream processes must also maximize the growth of the organism, product yield, and reduced minimize the formation of desirable product. For instance, when you buy a yogurt in the market and you discover that you are instead of getting the usual taste of yogurt, you are getting a taste of a bitter taste, then you will know that definitely this product has been compromised. The reason why is because perhaps the wrong organism have gotten into the medium and have destroyed, or it has weakened the what's it called the the key organism that is needed in order to do the production processes. We also have what we call other things are sterilization. It is very essential for you after getting your medium. You need to sterilize it and make it sterilize it to ensure that through the medium, no microorganism will compromise your what's it called your production processes. And looking at the picture, you see a pure isolate is being transferred into the seed culture. What we call seed culture is a means of is a let me call it an acclimatizing environment for you to grow the isolate in what's it called in a friendly environment to achieve it to get to enough quantity that you can use to inoculate your production medium. So that's what we have as seed culture. So this will also lead to the microorganism. And so for the fermentation to be successful, the nature of microorganism that you are using must be able to fulfill your desired need, meaning that you must be able to provide it the essential things that it will grow: the carbon source, the nitrogen source, the mineral, and all the likes. And look at the following criteria, which are very essential. This microorganism must be able to give maximum yield of product, must be able to give minimum yield of undesirable product. It should be consistently available throughout the year, and it should be very cheap. It's not that, okay, for instance, you get a malt product today, and the next time you get a malt product will be maybe this same time next year. That kind of company will run out of business. But this company often have store of this what's it called storage for this microorganism. And so once the production batch is going out, they wash their equipment, they bring another new set of organism that have been perfectly stored. So if it is available all around, then you see that production processes will be continuous and there will not be need of any product. Then what about the fermentation processes? We have types of fermentation. We have the batch type, we have the fed batch, and we have the continuous batch. Now for the batch, it's only once you start it, and at a particular time you end the production, you end the fermentation, so that you harvest it. You start it maybe for 5 days, maybe for 4 days, maybe for 7 days or more, depending on the nature of the organism. And when you do that, you end it, you harvest your product, and you purify it. Now what are the it's very essential for you to understand the growth curve of microorganism. We have the lag phase, or the lag phase. We have the exponential, we call it acceleration phase or the exponential phase. In some studies, the acceleration phase and the log phase are often drawn together. We also have the exponential, the log phase and the acceleration phase is often drawn together. We also have the exponential phase. We have the exponential phase, and we have the deceleration phase, which will eventually leads to stationary phase and dead phase. Now when you look at the curve, now this is the lag phase. The lag phase is the acclimatization stage. Now the log phase, which is the acceleration phase. The log phase is the acceleration phase. Now for the lag phase, the organism is trying to acclimatize to the environment. Now the log phase, the rate of growth of the organism is very, very high. While the stationary phase is the rate of the death of the organism, and the rate of growth is equals to the rate of death of the organism. That's why it is stationary. It's no longer ascending, it's no longer accelerating. And anything after that, we have the death region. This death region means that the rate of death is more than the rate of growth of the organism. These are just the functions here are there to help you to better understand what the growth phase or the growth kinetics of an organism. Now going into the fed batch fermentation, this is a kind of fermentation processes adopted in the industry. Is as a result of you keep on feeding the organism without taking out the product. After this only allows a lengthy period of fermentation to take place, and at the end, after a long period of time, you terminate it together. Why we have the continuous fermentation processes, whereby you add more medium, and you take away what's it called you take away the products, and you take away the product and the microorganism, and for you to be able to sustain it for a very prolonged period of time. This can stay for a very long of time, for as long as 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, and this production process is what we call continuous fermentation processes. And this continuous fermentation, needs a chemostat for you to be able to proper monitoring, so that you will ensure that essential the nutrient taken out is being replaced, and there is no damage to the cell in the fermenter. So here are the advantages and disadvantages of batch and continuous operation. Then you can easily go through that with the note I've given you, or this video that I'm dropping. Then after that, we go to the downstream processing. The downstream processing is when you get your product, then you prepare to extract your product, you purify it, and you pack it for production processes. And the end products are usually antibiotics, amino acid, vitamins, organic acid, industrial enzymes, and vaccines. So these are just downstream processes. And one thing is that your desired product can be produced intracellularly in the cell of the organism, and or is produced, the organism secretes it out. That's extracellular products. And from there, if it is intracellular, that means you need to break the cell open, then before you be able to get your product out, and you go through the physical or other fermentation, other extraction processes. And if it is the extracellular product, it's been secreted in the medium, and you are able to separate it from the medium. And you remember in your production of enzyme, production of protein, the stages of the cell lysis, that's if it is intracellular, using osmotic pressure or osmotic techniques, mechanical techniques such as sonication, in order for you to get your product out. And when you get your product out, if it's protein in nature, you use ammonium sulfate precipitation, and once that, you take it through dialysis, you take it through chromatography techniques. So these are other things these are the cell disruption and disintegration actually take place under the downstream process. It's just the way of getting your protein out and getting it finished, in order for you to package it and be able to get it to the market. What's the essence of having prepared for an upstream process, fermentation, and your downstream process is weak? It makes no sense. So all these stages, your upstream, fermentation, what's it called, downstream process, must be perfectly clean, so that you can be able to maximize the profit, maximize your gain, and at the end of the day, you will be happy, the microorganism will be happy, and everybody will be happy. Thank you very much.